بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم تنزيل الكتاب لا ريب فيه من رب العالمين
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. Respected scholars, dignitaries and brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, the topic given to me is on the comparative analysis between the Western or contemporary models of family with regards to the Islamic concept of family. Before I would start, because there are different ways to approach this comparative analysis, I am glad that Preston International College has chosen this topic. Okay, it's a very important topic. We see marriages breaking everywhere, families, not just marriages, families are just disintegrating. So I thought I'll take a little bit of different approach where we look at the outcomes and then come back to the source, inshallah. It's my attempt. And I'm sure from the fiqh related, there are many other ulama who will come and address on those aspects. So I would like to want to touch on things which matter the most to us. Especially so because there's differences of thought processes, different isms coming in. Okay, every day a new ideology comes in. So let's look at what are the current problems that the world itself is facing. I'm not even looking at Muslims facing. World in general, what are they facing? What are they facing? What are the current issues? Mental health issues. What mental health issues? I have only 30 minutes. Stress. What else? Loneliness. Homelessness is a big, it's like a pandemic. Okay, it's a behavioral pandemic. It's a situation where scores and scores of people are going homeless. Right? Millions and millions of people are feeling lonely. What else is happening? Divorce rates are all on the high. We would say no, Islamic model of family is very good. So divorce rates are less. Model is good. People are not following it. That's why we are ending up in such numbers. So moral values are eroding. A selfishness you can see. Even if you go on the roads, you can see people park vehicles. And if you are among those who are outside that context, you will say, how did they even think they can park here? Doesn't make sense. Do they not think of another person passing through? Right? We see such civic sense is eroding, moral and ethical values are eroding. A lot of, selfish thought. People are getting disconnected to the entire world. Although they are connected to the entire world, they are getting disconnected and they are only self-absorbed. Now, when this is happening, we need to kind of also understand when these are the issues going around in the world. And it is the same time we have the next generation which is also coming up. They are learning, they have been put in this environment where they are facing a lot of issues. See, one generation, we saw different types of issues. So if we have to analyze this generation, what is the current generation? We call them as Generation Z. Okay, there's Generation Alpha, which still data is to be covered. They are born from 2012. Okay, Generation Z, some characteristics, if you see their attributes, how it's been defined. Who are Gen Z? From 94 plus onwards, 1994 born onwards till 2012. This age group is called the Gen Z. They are known, their characters, one of their characteristics is they don't take risk. They never want to take risk. They are over cautious. When it comes to relationships, they do not want to engage in any serious relationship until very late in the life. They don't want any serious relationship. Okay, that's because it's convenient, no risk, right? And this generation is also known as the loneliest generation, because this generation also feels that they are very lonely and there is nobody to support them. Okay? And this generation is very less likely to be engaged in religious activities. Okay? They don't believe in God that much. They don't, and about that, they will not develop any strong relationship. That attitude towards that is very, very less. More tolerant to any other views. So now you understand why we get so influenced, because I am okay with anybody. Yeah, I know it is wrong, but it's okay. That's his choice, her choice. I'm okay with it. So being very tolerant, and they become more individualistic, rely on themselves, and do not like authority or authoritative figures or governments. Okay? So these are the characteristics not defined by me, but the sociologists, they have done. This is what characterizes. Now this is a perfect recipe for disaster. You have so many issues going on in the world, and you have a generation which has these kinds of attributes and attitudes towards life. We are open for any ideas. What would happen? Now when we look at this, where does the problem arise? Where this problem should have been set right. Somewhere, if you look at any nation, what is a nation built of? Societies. Societies are built of families. Somewhere deep down, a family is the place where we need to look at answers, where we need to look at seeing how do we fix this. And somewhere, because it's not fixed there, is what is the outcome today that we are seeing. Okay? How important is a family? Apart from Adam alayhi salam, Hawa and Isa ibn Maryam, everybody else is born to a father and a mother. Correct? So nobody is born individual somewhere just like that. Right? We are born in a group setting. Allah has pushed us in that group settings. So families are the ones which are taking care of that particular child right from its birth, and are responsible to ensure that their social, their emotional, their psychological, all types of development is happening in a proper way. If that has to happen, which is going to shape their values, their belief systems, their identities, right? Then you can understand the importance of a family in anybody's life. Today, whoever you are is because of your parents, right? Today, whoever you are because of your parents. Someone was just sharing a joke, saying, okay, you Indians, your parents decide which course you should take in life. And I think they responded saying, yeah, Sundar Pichai also did not select his own. His mother only selected the course for him. But today he is the CEO who is ruling Google. So anyway, coming back. So family is very, very crucial and very, very critical for the stability of individuals, for the stability of the society and overall nation and this world. If families are disintegrating, if family values are eroding, that will show up in the mahal. So when the job given to me is to compare, so I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritties, the Sharia at that level, but at a very high level, because my objective is to touch upon those areas which needs us to focus on. There will be so many different aspects. 30 minutes is not the right time to go in depth. Inshallah, we hope during the panel discussion we'll be able to touch upon those things. So let me start with what is common between the Western and contemporary models of a concept of family and Islamic concept of a family. When I say what is common, at least at the intent level from the contemporary side is common. So from the intent perspective, you see both the models, they value family. Family is important. There is a recognition that family is important. Both agree that We need to provide moral and emotional support, respect and mutual understanding within the family, provide plenty of opportunities to children, give them their best start, right? And maintain family ties, which is kind of eroded a lot in the western side, but then whoever is still maintaining family ties is only because there's a culture, okay? Like Thanksgiving Day, the entire family sits, there's a party, the entire family sits. So it's been come to that level. So just because to keep traditions, people are maintaining it, but then it's very, very fast eroding. And when in the beginning when I said loneliness, this generation is the loneliest generation, okay, it is not just limited to youngsters. Even elders are now lonely. Elders are lonely. So these are the commonalities. Places where we differ, while both the models are giving value to families, the main differences, if you see, is the approach to the roles and responsibilities and the definition of what constitutes a family. We'll inshallah dwell into a few points here and there. And because of the West's most liberal policies and a fluid and flexible definitions. See, today, what are people fighting on? Definitions. Sex is different, gender is different. Okay? So I give a different definition for gender, from there my concept of gender identity and other things go in. So they are more flexible. So even the familial values, familial structure is being more influenced by this fluid and ever evolving social norms. Right? When you compare to Islam, this entire structure is a divine ordinance. It's given by Allah Azza wa Jal. There is no say for you and me to say, okay, I will apply this, I will not apply this. Once the Sharia has come, and it's very, very clear who is what, who can marry who cannot marry, who has the right on this, who does not have a right on this, under what circumstances. There is no area left for a doubt. Common man can have a doubt, but when you reach the ulama, they are the ones who will make it more clear. Right? So having said this, let's start from marriage. So from the Western contemporary model, if you look at it, marriage is predominantly looked at the lens of romantic love and individual fulfillment via mutual consent. So here it is all mutual consent. You can often hear this word mutual consent. Even if you had to do a crime, it should be mutual consent. Right? So it's like honor among thieves. So we are honest in whatever dealings we do in cheating. So second, if you see, marriage is between a union of equals. Union of equals. So everybody has equal rights, equal opportunities, share the responsibilities. Don't ask me to wash the dish. Even though I have the dishwasher, but you are supposed to put the vessels in the dishwasher today. So it's equality. Whereas if you look at the Islamic model, marriage is looked upon as a sacred contract, a covenant, that a man is engaging in this covenant. Okay, there's a divinity, there's a spiritual aspect to that. And it comes with its own roles and responsibilities. And every right is attached to some kind of a responsibility. If I fulfill my responsibilities, my wife's rights are taken care of. Right? If you look at the Western society, you're all equal. Imagine we all have played jigsaw puzzle. Yes? Okay? There are some parts which are not there, there are some parts that's extra. You need that so that they fit in properly. If you have all smooth, there's nothing to gel. There's nothing to, Allah made those differences. Even in the society, some Allah has given, some Allah has not given. The blessing of that is what makes us need the other person. If each and every one is self-sufficient, there's no need for the other person to go anywhere else. But then the Western societies are more towards that, the individualism. So there's nothing divine or spiritual more cultural in the Western side from the marriage perspective, but earlier it was mentioned half of Iman. Full finisher, second half of Iman. Even this marriage is looked upon as a means of fulfilling my purpose of creation. I am created for what? To worship Allah. And there are certain acts of worship I cannot do without getting married. Right? So, even this act of marriage is looked upon as a means of getting closer to Allah. Umar ibn al-Khattab once is noted that he said, I have no interest in women. Okay? All that I want was that I have more children who will praise Allah. His concept, the way he is looking at is totally different, but that's the right way to look at. Okay? So, marriage is looked upon like that. Even the process of selection, how do you select whom to get married? In a Western culture, is very free. You can select whoever it is. You can select whoever it is. You can get married to anything. Okay, I'm going a little bit, okay? Anyone is still better, anything. Okay? People are getting married to AI. Yes? Yeah, they're getting married to AI. Anything is okay. But from an Islamic perspective, marriage is only allowed between a male and a female, very clear. Okay, it's very, very clear. And Islam clearly says who is mahram, who is non-mahram. It's not just male and female. Among the male and female, who can marry, who cannot marry. That clarity is given. So very important here also there's a consent. There's no force in marriage. There's a consent that is taken. Alhamdulillah. There's a dowry that is given. Mahar. There's a family's role in selecting a spouse. All that is done. A mutual consent. All of these are brought in. But then here you need consent for different things. It is reported in US alone, 10 to 14% of women have reported that they have been raped by their husbands. Marital rape. This is absurd, isn't it? Whereas when you consent and you say you are getting married, Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Physical intimacy is a right of the spouse itself. So when it comes to contemporary models, people are looking at what is my right. Okay? Equality, that's what is happening. What is feminist movement? What is it? Sorry? Oh, that's the extreme feminism. No, they're all thinking they are Maryam alayhi salam. Okay, anyway, good for them. Okay? Yes. So, if you look at it, every movement had come to address some ill in the society. Okay? So, when this feminist movement came, it was good. Why? In the Western world, there was no rights for women. There is no izzah for women. They are like the same Jahiliya period only they were in. So it made sense for people to get into a movement to fight for women's rights. But the answer to that is not feminism. The answer for that was Islam. Because Islam already gave those rights to you. Right? So people who do not understand that, they are still fighting for it. Now it has become an extreme kind of, now feminism is not just feminism, just like LGBTQ+++. Feminism is an umbrella term. And there is Islamic feminism also. Okay. Subhanallah. Okay. So these are all certain things. But then we understand that Allah Azza wa Jalla said there are certain, rights. You have certain rights similar to those of the rights of the husband is in what is reasonable. Right? Allah Azza wa Jalla has mentioned that. So people use that, say similar is equal. Subhanallah, Islam promotes justice. So in Islam, if you see, there's equity, not equality. When I say not equality, it does not mean there's no equality. It's not necessarily always equal, but it is equity. What's the difference between these two? Equality means similarity, sameness. Okay? So you sit down, when you are hungry, you eat 4 chapatis. When your wife is hungry, she eats only 1 chapati. But you say, no, equal. You should eat 4 chapatis. That is equality. Equity is, if she needs 1 chapati, she is healthy, let her go. Right? What's the equality? Both of them, the outcome should be healthy. If someone is eating biryani and being healthy, not the case. But the outcome is what you are looking at. So that's what is the outcome, is equality. So if you see here, subhanallah, there are differences. These differences are not contradictory, rather they are complementary. The rights given to husband and wife are complementary. Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying there is a daraja given for men, but that daraja doesn't mean he is better. It means he is more responsible. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he said to Abu Dhar, don't take responsibility, leadership, right? Why? It is a fitna for you. You may not be able to deal with it. So any leadership position is fitna for us only. It's a trial. So when men are being given this, they are actually taking up an additional responsibility. Okay? So just because someone is on top of you does not mean he is better than you. In the sight of Allah, taqwa is what makes us. So if you say today, your political leader is higher than you, is he better than you? That you have to decide, because they are recording. Okay. So these are the things that we need to understand. When it is being said, if a woman prays 5 times a day, fast her Ramadan, right? Fast. And she is able to protect her chastity, and she obeys her husband, she will be asked to enter Jannah, any doors of the Jannah. Where is that given for man? In spite of he taking responsibility? No. So here you don't talk about equality, it's equity, where we all are, running towards pleasing Allah Azza wa Jal. So here when you see, obedience to even your husband is only in line with the Quran and the Sunnah. The obedience to Atiullah wa Atiur Rasul. And then only it comes to the people who are in authority position. And if they say something which is against, then there is no need for any obedience. So here the rights, the roles are not clearly defined. Each one can define whatever role they want to. But then the family system promotes individualism. Being autonomous is good. You make your children be independent is good, so that they don't depend. But individualistic is where the society is moving. So when you say individualistic, as a father, I will do things for you, but I don't have to, shell out my entire life for that. Only Indian parents do, right? We live and die for our children, right? Similarly, the son would say, yeah, my dad needs me, I'll go support him, but I'm not accountable that I don't have to take care of him. So there's no accountability per se. Whereas in Islam, we have been encouraged to take care. We've been clearly said, Anta wa malukum li abi, clear distinction. Everything is given very clearly. So again, one of the aspects of family within the Western society is emphasis is given on independence and personal fulfillment. If I am satisfied, that's sufficient. I don't have to worry about anybody else. And freedom of choice. You gave birth to a son. After some point in time, he says, I am not a boy, I am a girl. That's his choice. You can't say anything. The freedom of choice is given to such an extent, even the school does not let you to say anything. You can't say anything for your child. And if the child calls 911, you're gone. Correct? So you can't force. But in Islam, what are we told? Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. It's not just you protect yourself, but you protect your family from the hellfire. That's the responsibility. So as Muslims, we don't just give away with, we are being asked to prioritize and take care of those roles and responsibilities. So if you have to put in a nutshell, the Western families are more individualistic in nature, more free and open in nature, whereas the Islamic concept of family is very clearly defined. We have been motivated to do certain things, we have been, demotivated to do certain things, and ultimately, whatever be your rights, we are all at the same footing when it comes to the sight of Allah, because that's the purpose of our creation. Whereas there is no such thing that is binding on any other contemporary issues. However, having said that, we have an amazing deen. There will always be people with disease in their heart. There will always be people, when you give them authority, they will oppress. And oppression is not allowed in Islam. Justice is what needs to prevail. So when people oppress their authority, their position, be a husband or anybody else, right, it is going to destroy the entire system. And when we talk about authority, Islam does not just give authority, Islam also gives hierarchy. When the Prophet ﷺ said, each one of you is a shepherd, and he went on to say, a man is the shepherd of his family, and he'll be questioned, then comes the woman. So you see, authority is given, hierarchy is also given, wherein all these feminism or all other movements are hell-bent on breaking patriarchy, hierarchy, or any kind of a thing. And this is what resonates well with Gen Z, because they don't want any authority. They don't want anybody saying what they need to do, what they not to do. So how these contemporary models are actually eroding the society. Okay, so constant change in social norms. Constant change in the social norms. It is like this. I'll give you an example. It's very easy to understand. We all have played some games with our cousins and together when we were young. And I hope you would have gone through this situation. You are playing with one cousin. That cousin is known to be very selfish. He or she, hook or crook, it could be your own brother or sister who knows how to win. So the moment they are seeing that you are going to win, they'll immediately change the rules. Correct? Okay, now you say, this is not fair, this is not fair. What do you say? Fair. We are always fighting for fairness. We are always fighting for justice. Now imagine, other 3-4 cousins are standing next. They say, what that person is doing is correct only, follow. You will do something, now you will go. Suddenly they will change the rule. Again, just when they are about to lose, they will change the rule. Hook or crook, they want to win. We all have felt this, gone through in life. Society is functioning like that only today. Okay? Majority is what comes and says, what he is saying is right. Do it. You keep crying, it's not fair, it's not fair. Nobody is here to listen. So the rise of non-traditional families, where people are now saying the definition of family is changed because of the societal norms. Same-sex relationships, cohabitation, that is live-in relationships, need not marry. Okay, all these things are happening. The besties that we were, inshallah, be talking about later on. All this is disrupting family equation. It is I, me, myself, and only me. Nothing else matters. When that happens, there is no way to, build a relationship or make this world a better place. And people who say individualism is the right thing, the West says, right, it's a movement that was created earlier with some other thought, just like feminism, but it took a wrong turn. The individualistic movement is taken a wrong turn. If you look at any company, they say so-called individualistic people, they go to any company, can they run individualistically? They need a team. They need to work as a team. Like I said, you are not born alone, you are born in a team, right? The team is called family. So this individualism goes against the fitra. What is fitra for us as human beings? We want to have a sense of belonging. Why do you feel lonely? Because you don't feel like you belong anywhere, right? What is everybody running behind materialistically? For happiness. Yes? When you achieve happiness, when you achieve some success, you're happy. What do you want to do? Tell someone. How can you be happy alone? When you share it with someone, your happiness just increases. That's the natural way. And when you are with someone only, then happiness, you achieve happiness. You just don't, go to the desert, sit and become happy. Not possible. And even if you are happy, you have to come and say, I was sitting in the desert. I am happy 100%. You post somewhere, right? You need a community. You need someone to talk about. So there's interdependence that's required. And when we want to develop ourselves, we need people who can take care of us. Who can take care of us. Take about neighbors, right? In Islam, we have been also taught about neighbors. So much is emphasized on a community aspect, a collectivist aspect rather than an individualistic aspect. What happens with individualistic aspect is it breeds some kind of, what do you say? I'm forgetting the word. Entitlement. Okay, it breeds entitlement. People think I am entitled to certain things. That's why you see people don't want to share things. People are not ready to compromise on things. We see the same attitude which is spread within Muslims. Within Muslims. When you tell them, this is what Allah is asking you to do. But someone will say, how do you expect me as a woman to bend down? Subhanallah. So we are becoming very, very choosy in terms of what to take and what not to take. Finally, why Islam is the solution? At the end of the day, the entire family structure, the way the society has to function, the way the community has to function, it's all given by the ultimate authority, our Creator, who knows us best, who understands our fitrah and who says, this is best for you. Right? And when you look at the deen, the way it is given, it is strong, it is steady, with utmost clarity. There's no changing definitions. Right? There's absolutely no changing definitions. And there's some kind of accommodation for the local culture. Right? The urf. There's some level of accommodation even to the urf. That makes it more compatible for people. And all your roles and responsibilities, one person's roles and responsibilities are tied to someone else's rights. And we've been encouraged to fulfill our roles and responsibilities. And there's a very big punishment if you do not fulfill your responsibilities. So in that way, justice and equality has been given, not by equality in terms of similarity, but equity based on what is required for that person, what resources are required for that person to ultimately come and achieve the success that is pleasing Allah, worshipping Allah. And Allah said, I have created you, raised you as a nation. Right? And what do? You enjoin good, you forbid evil, and you believe in Allah. And this is the exact thing that the family structure also follows. So when we have this kind of a family, which becomes the basic building block of the ummah, inshallah, this will be translated into resolving a lot of issues. So I conclude by saying that because the Western models or the contemporary models focus more on individualism, freedom of choice, and these things which are actually hurting the basic foundation itself. Whereas the Islamic system is very much in line with the fitrah of mankind and given by the authority, it does not change. Rather, it's very complementary. And this, inshallah ta'ala, if we understand it and we have people prepared for marriage, it's like telling someone today, how do we approach marriage itself, family itself? This guy is very useless. He is a reckless driver. He is not understanding anything. Okay, so let him make the pilot. Why? Once he becomes a pilot, he'll become responsible. He does not know how to fly the plane. And flying, anybody we can fly. Landing only is the problem. Right? So we have no clue what being a pilot is. We don't educate ourselves. We don't do anything. I have seen in movies how they fly, so I am a pilot. This is the kind of a thing that we are doing. We are doing a great injustice, especially for the people who are getting into marriage, and greater injustice for the children who are born in that wedlock. So, Alhamdulillah, Sheikh is here, who keeps telling about, preparing for marriage, right? We need to ensure that we study about the marriage, marital life, even before getting into it, right? Inshallah, I make dua to Allah Azza wa Jal that Allah Azza wa Jal accepts our efforts and make every family a family which resonates with the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal and the sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.